Kia ora team, Marcus Shaw here with Business Mastery, and in today's video I'm going to teach you how to get control of your time by using a default diary. Let's start off with what happens when we get this wrong. So first thing is you're going to feel super busy. You're just going to be running around like a headless chicken in the cycle of get the work, do the work, get the work, do the work. And as a result, you're going to feel like the business is just static, like it's never improving. Sure, you're making some okay money, but it's just going to feel stalled out. And it's going to feel really dependent on you as the owner. Like all roads run through you. And no matter what you do, no matter whether you have good month, bad month, everything just feels dependent on you and your efforts. On the other hand, if we get this right, we sense a little more enjoyment each day and each week. Why? Because we're doing things that we enjoy, the things that are high value, that utilize all the skills and talents that we have. And we're going to feel momentum because even on the bad weeks, the business is getting better. And then because of that improvement, that continuous improvement, our profits are going to go up, which is also going to give us more confidence about the future of the business. All of this, by the way, fits into this base level or the foundation of building a business that isn't dependent on us mastery. And so there's this whole phase of which there's 4 stages. It's all about moving from chaos to control. And so there's 3 principles that we really need to remember as we're building a default diary. 3 principles that will set you up for success when you're building this diary. So let's talk about the first one. Urgent versus important. We are not, as human beings, wired to respond to things that are important, but things that are urgent. So anything that's in our close to us in terms of our field of view, physically, emotionally, that might be a threat to us, we're going to respond to that. So somebody walking into your office, somebody knocking on your door, or a ping on your phone, that's going to just create conditions within us that we just want to respond straight away. And so we've got to proactively prioritize things that are important, schedule in the things that are important. Secondly, we've got to understand that time equals money. You've probably heard this before. I love the way Covey explains it. Michael Gerber explains it in The E-Myth, a classic which you need to read if you haven't. So he talks about the 3 entrepreneurial hats, and the first one being technician. That's your craft. That's probably what got you into this business or this industry in the first place. Maybe you're an architect. Well, that's your technical craft. Then the next level up is the manager. And the manager is obviously managing the technicians. And then finally, we have the entrepreneur. And so when we think about these 3 functions that we need to do within the business, most of us have a role as a technician, and that's worth some money. Let's say $25, $35 an hour. Then we move up to manager, and manager's worth slightly more because it's a more refined skill set, more rare rather. And so that's worth slightly more money. Maybe that's $45, $50 an hour. And then finally, we've got this entrepreneurial hat. Well, when we're in this zone of genius, we are worth thousands of dollars an hour. And you might sniff at that straight off the bat. I understand that. But if you look at something like a price increase and selectively increasing your prices, very quickly within a short amount of time, you will realize thousands of dollars an hour in rolling and thinking through that project and rolling that project out. You'll be earning thousands of dollars an hour. Things like increasing your average dollar sale, improving your conversion rate, remarketing to old databases or clients that you have in your database. All of these types of projects are worth thousands of dollars an hour. Just recently watched a Netflix documentary on Carlos Ghosn, the Renault CEO. At one point in time in history, Carlos believed his time to be worth $150,000 per hour. Now, that might seem crazy to you, but when you think about that compared to $25 an hour for a technician, what would you rather be doing? But there's a trap. And the trap is that if we don't schedule this time, if we don't put it in our calendar, it's not going to happen. And so the final principle I want you to think on is from Stephen Covey, wrote 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Fantastic book. Again, recommend you read that. Covey talks about the big rocks first. And so this is this idea that in a week we have this container, and that container we try and fill up with as much stuff as possible, but oftentimes we forget to put the things that are most important in first. And so if we think about filling this up, well, how would we get as much in here as possible? We'd put big rocks in first, and then we'd put the pebbles, and then we would put the sand, right? The sand would fill up all the gaps between. But ironically, what we tend to do as business owners is we often put the sand in first, the pebbles, and then hope to put the big rocks on top of that. So let's look at a real life example now, because I'm going to talk you through how to build out your default diary. So the first thing we want to do, as we've just discussed, is put in the most important thing in our week. And that most important thing is working on our business, taking time to execute the business improvement projects that will take our business forward. And we should be doing that, by the way, 10% of our working week. So 10% is not all that much, but if we don't schedule it, it's not going to happen. So as a general rule, I would recommend you do this early on in the week rather than later, and early on in the day rather than later. So let's put that in here, and we'll just say, for example, that middle of the day we have lunch. I know you're probably not taking lunch, but you should be taking lunch. So let's say middle of the day's lunch, that's out. Then we're going to put in working on the business. Now, generally, I would recommend that you do this for no more than an hour. It's just going to be a big ask for you to focus any longer than that. If you do want to do 2 back-to-back blocks of an hour, I'd recommend doing 2 45-minute stints with a 15-minute break in between. That structure seems to work well for most of our clients. Let's say working on business is here, and let's go again, same time Tuesday. Make it simple for yourself. Make it easy to remember. If you're trying to think of multiple different time slots on multiple different days with no rhyme or reason or rhythm, it's going to be much harder. And as I say, I'm going to suggest that we do 2 of those blocks back to back with a break in between. I'm not going to put the break in between because I've run out of space, but you get the point. So if we've done that early on in the week, well, we're done. That's roughly our 4 hours working on business, just like that. Now, obviously, we've got to put some other stuff in here, right? We've got to put some things like running a team meeting. If you're not doing a team meeting, you should have that. So generally, I'd recommend that goes early on a Monday. And we're also going to need some one-on-one meetings. If you're not having one-on-one meetings with key members of your staff, if you've got a big team, then you want to be having that with managers. If it's a smaller team, it'll be key people within your team. But you want to be having those one-on-one meetings. And generally, I would recommend those happen on a Friday afternoon. And we have a format for that, really simple: start, stop, carry on. Not going to talk on that today, but there's a format for those. And also, you might want to consider having a daily check-in on the days in between. So daily check-in. And then finally, you might have some technical time. So I don't know about you, but if you actually have a role within your business, for me it's coaching, for you it might be drawing houses or doing details, engineering design, actually practicing the law, but most of us will have some time doing that, and we want to leave space for that. One other critical thing that you may have in here is sales meetings, and so I would recommend you put those in and pre-schedule those at a particular time. I'm going to leave those as orange because that is high value time if it's prospecting, generating sales for your business. So let's say we do Tuesday afternoon and Thursday morning. And let's go one more. Now we've got pretty good coverage across the week now in terms of the key things we need, and we can fill up the rest of it with all that sand. But don't over schedule it. It's one mistake I see made all the time is people get excited on this concept and they try and schedule everything, and then they get disappointed when they fall flat and don't execute it all. So again, just keep some white space in the calendar. Prove to yourself that you can do this with a small change first, and then build and grow and improve the calendar from there. Trust this has been helpful. If you want help working out how to build this default diary for you and your business, book a 15-minute growth call with me, and I'll talk you through some of the things that you can do to build this for you personally. I'd love to have that phone call with you. If this video has been helpful, please give it a like or a thumbs up. We'd love for you to share it. And until next time, ka kite anō.